Culminating Projects, celebrating the work of teaching and learning through the project approach. This content talk will help you examine the different ways that teachers can help children select representations for how and what they learned through their project work. This is based on Young Investigators, The Project Approach in the Early Years by Judy Harris Helm and Lillian Katz, and coordinates with the chapter on concluding project work. When to culminate projects? When is a project over? This is often a very difficult, it's almost as difficult to begin a project sometimes as it is to determine when is it really over. Now sometimes this can happen prematurely when teachers haven't really cultivated the interest like we need to. If we haven't brought enough interesting artifacts, if we don't get the timing right in the beginning, we might think, oh, I don't think they're interested in this. So sometimes prematurely projects come to an end or they shift quickly. But this content talk is about when you have concluded project work. You've investigated, you've had field site experts, you've had many opportunities for children to think deeply about their project work, to do their own research, collect data, and keep in mind that a project is a long-term study. It happens over several months. Typically in classrooms that are pre-K oriented, it might be a 6 to 8 week project because you can do project work all the time. In an elementary setting, when you have a demanding curriculum and you have certain curriculum content that you have to teach, project work might happen 3 times a week. It might happen every day, but maybe for a shorter amount of time, for 20 to 25 minutes, 30 minutes. So the time that you're able to spend on projects definitely helps with the longevity. But it's not just about length when projects are over. We have to determine, are there any other questions? Were all the questions answered? So if you have been a good documenter of children's questions and having them predict answers and finding answers and then talking about what they've found, then you have this recorded. Typically when you do that, questions will still emerge when there's more curiosity, more information that different children might think about and bring up. When there are no new questions emerging, when all the artifacts have been explored and they're not being used as frequently as they were, and when the play and the environment is not being selected anymore. So for example, if you have been in a project topic on a topic where your dramatic play area has been created, or for example, maybe you set up, or the children set up a veterinarian clinic because you're studying some sort of animal. Maybe you set up a movie theater, not you, sorry. Maybe the children created a movie theater that they've been playing in, and now it's no longer being selected. Or books that children were once just carrying around with the classroom are no longer being selected. That's when we know that the project topic may be finished. But you can reinvigorate a project topic when a project has not reached its fullest potential by having an expert come in, by going on another field site visit, finding new artifacts, or dividing the groups into more responsibilities, such as having small group committee work. You may also do deliberate provocations, both small and large provocations, and take a note, remember, from our reading just a week ago, that there are different kinds of provocations that we can be selecting and setting up. These are ways to kickstart a project that looks like it has died. So typically, the information on this slide is something you're going to use at the beginning of a project when you just haven't learned fully the skills of being a project teacher. This is something that's very common because we think, oh, I don't think they're interested in this, and then all of a sudden you've done all this work to gather these artifacts and you're switching. When really, if a project topic has significant potential for reaching curriculum goals, we can reinvigorate that project topic. At some point, however, the project will end. But it must be celebrated. And really, this is when all of the learning comes together. Teachers often think a project has failed when in all actuality it's just come to the end, a point of culmination. So it's an opportunity where children can feel like they have learned, because they're going to identify what they've learned and they're going to identify how to present it to others. Administrators can see this value and parents can see the growth in children and in their development. Planning culminating experiences, we want to think about telling the story of the project. Sometimes telling the whole story is less effective. You have to think, shall we have an event? Shall we discuss part of the project? We need to ask the children what they've learned. We need to re-web so that they can see what they've learned. And then we need to ask them, what do they want to share? What do they want to be a part of? They can plan this. Focus on your audience. Focus on the children and the parents and the administrators. Who do they want to talk about? What do they want to know? What will work best? What kind of media will work best for this group? So if it's a group of children who are young learners that have not done a lot of advanced representations, we want to share some of their representations, but maybe they need to help with a display and organizing the different photos and experiences they had and telling a story. So that's kind of how we think. And then we think, how can we share that piece with the group? What piece from our experiences? Don't hesitate to provoke the children. So through small and large provocations, we can help children. We can help children with storytelling about other projects. We can create a little small slideshow of the children's work for the children to inspire them to think like this. We can help guide children to making a scrapbook or a project history book. This can involve many different aspects of the project and many of the children. Children can make a display. This is an example of children's work. They decided where to hang the different objects. They used the artifacts that were collected throughout the project. They made tent cards, which meant that they had written very carefully and labeled the different aspects of their child-made display. This hung in the hallway, and parents could observe it as they came to pick up their children at the end of a school day. Other children need to share with another class. So older children can come and see what the younger children have been learning about. This is very effective. The children as a class can make one large mural. This mural was created by two boys who were actually brothers in the same classroom. They created a slime mural and represented all the slimy creatures they had discovered during the slime project. There are representations for play, so they can actually make their own representations. This was the Pepsi and 7-Up soda machine, the fountain, that was at the Mexican restaurant project, which was in kindergarten. This culminating event was to create a restaurant and invite parents to come be a part of it. Provide dramatic play opportunities. After lengthy construction, dramatic play is a perfect way to culminate work. In this photo, Atticus is really enjoying the play in his bus construction. Sometimes children like to make a video. They want to celebrate their learning in a bigger way. Because the cooking project began with watching a cooking show, Elizabeth developed her own cooking show and served her family a recipe that she had invented. Many times children are so proud of their project work that they want to share their learning with their friends. As a culminating event, Joshua shared his race car project poster to the school. So something that a child had made within the project became something they share. Shared work really relates to other learning goals, such as those literacy skills and those other academic skills that we have been dying to bring into the activity planning early on, when it's really more appropriate early in activities to focus on the scientific investigation, the mathematical classification and measurement and investigation and documenting and inquiry and all of the language. We see that at the end, we can really rely more on those phonological awareness, alphabetic principle, concepts of print, and other emergent writing sorts of academic skills that are coming through. So even as the children are still learning about their learning, right, and thinking about their learning, we can connect these to curriculum standards. Plan a celebration. Invitations that are created by children are wonderful ways to get parents to come to your culminating events, but also engage children yet in another opportunity to write for real purposes. So this was the Mexican restaurant invitation from a kindergartner. You can also have an open house. Sometimes parents have difficult work schedules, and we forget that it's not that they don't want to participate, it's just that sometimes parents work different hours than we normally hold things, or they work two jobs. So being willing to have open houses that might be before or after school, or maybe during a lunchtime, when children can walk through with family members and be able to share in their project work and what they learned. These are just some of the ways that project work can be culminated. The important aspect of this is we're helping push thinking even further as children are thinking about their own thinking and learning. And many times this becomes the catapult for future project work and to help children see themselves as capable thinkers and learners.